The pandemic has put many Hoosiers in vulnerable positions. Many have lost their jobs and income, and some have even lost their homes. WRTV's Stephanie Wade examines how this year has impacted people displaced from their homes and a group still fighting for better outcomes for the most vulnerable.
Tony Anderson.
One by one.
Harold Baker.
87 people who have passed away this year in Marion County were honored today. 87 people
Christine
who were also homeless.
Bishop.
This has been such a tough year for so many, and it hits those experiencing homelessness just that much harder.
The loss is nearly double what the county experienced last year.
You're already talking about individuals and families that are in the midst of extreme vulnerability and crisis, and you add an additional crisis on top of that. I think that's the impact that we're seeing this year, and it's heartbreaking.
The Coalition for Homelessness Intervention and Prevention, or CHIP, lit a candle to mourn the 87 known people lost and an additional candle for those unknown.
Continue to say their names, continue to tell their stories, and let's write new stories for those who are still struggling.
CHIP's executive director says in the height of the pandemic, housing services slowed down.
Continuing to expand the rent relief work that the city has done over the last year is going to be vital as the eviction moratoriums are lifted over the next month or so. And then having that legal assistance work becomes critical too, to working with people before they lose housing.
As new legislation continues to come out around recovery efforts, the nationwide eviction moratorium recently extended through the end of January. It's important people are educated about their rights and resources available to prevent homelessness.
There are organizations, for example, like the Ross Foundation and the Tenants' Rights Union, that's getting that information in the hands of households that may not know kind of what's out there.
While today is a somber day, she says, it also marks a time of hope and reaffirmation to help those 1,500 men, women, and children who are homeless on any given night in our city, and remain steadfast in the fight for better outcomes for Hoosiers gone too soon.
Going into the holidays, I think everyone acts with extra compassion and kindness, and I would just say, keep that throughout the year.
Stephanie Wade, WRTV.
Well, CHIP is asking that people continue making donations to winter relief efforts in Indianapolis by working directly with shelter and housing partners. Items in need include blankets, coats, hats, warm wool socks, gloves, hand warmers, and single-serving non-perishable food and drink items. Donations can also be made directly by connecting with Street Reach Indy at chipindy.org. Continuing with the rebound tonight as WRTV keeps an eye on efforts to get Hoosiers to the other side of the pandemic. For people who have served their debt to society and are preparing to leave prison, life on the outside brings extra challenges these days when you throw in the COVID-19 pandemic. Tonight, I show you a fairly new program focusing on the health of those experiencing their newly found freedom.
I went from being a piece of crap to humbling myself before God.
Spend a few minutes talking to Charles Miller, and you quickly learn he wants to make better choices for a better life for himself now that he's out of prison.
It's hard to talk to people, man, that just show that you ain't that same person that you was that many years ago, man.
Charles was convicted in the mid-90s for burglaries and other serious aggressive crimes. The punishment? 26 years in state prison. He's been out since March.
No matter how much time you spend, 30 days or 30 years, it ain't, something changes, inside of you, and if you didn't have good skills before you got locked up, you sure in the hell ain't got them when you get out, and you can't do it without people, man, and that was my biggest barrier. I didn't want to trust nobody.
But now, bit by bit, Charles is gaining the confidence and help to be successful on the outside thanks to a fairly new program and way of thinking at the Indiana Department of Correction, focusing on what administrators are calling transitional health care.
Don't wait for them to get out and fail. Address the issues that we know inside, transition them out to home. hopefully to never come back to us.
Christine Daniel is the director of transitional health for the IDOC. She says this new approach helps fill the gaps for people leaving the prison system, adjusting to new freedom.
So maybe gaps in insurance coverage, which would affect a person's ability to get treatment. Maybe a gap in healthcare services because they had a wait list.
Before his release, Charles was having painful issues with his knees. Myrna Martin is a transitional healthcare liaison. She helped Charles to secure health insurance and ultimately schedule a procedure for his leg.
Once I got my insurance, I had my knee surgery about September, and so that knee is okay now.
His other knee is next, and then he's on a pathway to securing a job. Myrna also helped Charles obtain an ID card and register for Social Security and temporary housing. The goal of transitional health is to set up exiting inmates for success and remove barriers.
We really started to look at what can we do pre-release to make that transition smoother. So it's perhaps doing assessments that would normally done on the outside, inside, before they're released.
Though controversial, the program even provides exiting inmates with naloxone or Narcan, a drug which reverses the effects of an opioid overdose.
Why shouldn't they leave with this life-saving drug? They're a vulnerable population. It makes sense that they should have direct access to this drug.
The transitional healthcare approach puts heavy emphasis on an exiting inmate's mental and physical well-being with the goal of reducing the recidivism rate. That is, keeping those who leave the prison system from ending up behind bars again.
People releasing from the department are going back to all of our communities. They have served their sentence. They have worked hard, to maybe get into recovery or to address trauma from their past or to learn a new job skill. And if they're going to return to my neighborhood and your neighborhood, I think we all would want them to be prepared and healthy to come back as a productive citizen.
And that's exactly what Charles wants to be and is taking the small steps to get there with some help along the way.
If you get out, no matter how much confidence you got, and if you ain't got none, you just find somebody you can trust, man, because the system got to work for you, man. If they don't work for you, you got nothing, dude.
Well, since the program is so relatively new, it's too early to determine whether or not it's working. But it does have nearly a dozen community partners helping meet the health needs of people leaving prison. If you'd like to learn more, we have provided a link in this story on the WRTV mobile app. With the risk of the virus at school and work, it's safer if you can be employed from home, but you may not be safe from this. Coming up, we're going to help prepare you in case a scammer tries to get past you with this trick tied to working from home. And then the Colts pull it off after keeping us on the edge of our seats. IU gets a bowl game, but there is a catch. All of that ahead with our Brad Brown when the news at 6 continues on WRTV. Many people are searching for work right now, and scammers are working to trick you into sending them money. Mallory Safaste has insight into the spike in job scams and how the federal government is responding as we count down the 12 scams of Christmas.
The pandemic has made work from home schemes more believable, and they're costing eager job hunters thousands of dollars. Like millions of others, Daniel Martin lost his job during the pandemic, but he caught a break, an interview with a new company.
I was really excited. It sounded like a really good position with a lot of possibilities for growth within the company.
They sent him a contract and assigned him a project. The company was moving their offices to Baltimore and needed him to procure new equipment. Since he wasn't full-time just yet, he'd have to purchase the laptops with his credit card, and the company would reimburse him.
For the next 2 weeks, I completed a total of 3 purchase orders, and all the payments were posting perfectly fine.
A few weeks later, the charges suddenly reversed and Daniel's credit card balance exceeded $15,000. After speaking with a bank representative, he learned the account owner had reported the charges as fraudulent.
They probably, in some other way, scammed someone else to get their account and routing number, and then they gave me that information to pay my credit card.
Daniel said he should have known better, but his excitement clouded his judgment. And this is happening to job hunters around the country. According to the Federal Trade Commission, consumers reported losing $150 million to these scams in the first 9 months of 2020.
Amazon is offering you an opportunity to work from home as an associate member and make up to $400 a day.
This week, the FTC, along with 19 federal, state, and local law enforcement partners, announced a crackdown on scams targeting consumers with fake promises of income and financial independence. More than 50 enforcement actions were taken against operators of work-from-home and employment scams, pyramid schemes, investment scams, bogus coaching courses, and other schemes.
If anything at any point during any part of the process they ask you to buy anything, just don't.
Especially with a check. If it turns out that it's fake, you'll be on the hook for the money. And if someone reaches out to you about a job, contact their HR department, ask if they're hiring. Google the company address and search the name of the company, followed by the words complaint or scam. With your 12 scams of Christmas, I'm Mallory Safaste.
I'll start our conversation by saying, don't forget Jupiter and Saturn are waiting on you. All you need to do is step outside and look to the west, southwest. They'll be very close together. Most of us will get a break in the clouds to see that. Okay, now the conversation changes. We start talking about big temperature changes. Not until Wednesday night, though. Prior to that, it will be mild. We'll be in the 50s Wednesday, and then downhill we go. Temperatures in the 20s Thursday and barely in the lower 20s on Christmas Day itself. Christmas morning temperatures around 11 in Indy with wind chills below zero, about 3 below, I think, in their coldest. The cold front will generate first rain showers Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday night. That changes to some snow on the backside. The colder air will catch the moisture, change it to a little light snow and snow showers, just to confirm that there's a new feel in town. And there we break down Christmas Day, starting at 11, still in the teens at noon, and only 22 for the afternoon high. We're in the 40s now. The next 48 hours will feel pretty good. It will be very windy as we get midweek ahead of that cold front. That will surge the temperatures into the 50s. I've got lower 50s there. It could be a little warmer just depending on the timing of the rain showers. Right now it looks to be the evening hours, then transitioning to some snow as the cold air catches the remaining moisture and everything slides off to the east. Thursday, 29 degrees, so we barely warm up, kind of steady temperatures through the day. Christmas Day, 22, but look, we make a nice 10-degree bump into the low 30s Saturday. We're back closer to 40 on Sunday and Monday. A lot happens within the 7-day forecast, but nothing too big. If you're driving around the state, should be okay. Just make sure you have a winter coat.
And be safe. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. The Colts